I was walking around my place today where I live and just thinking about how blessed I am to live in a place like this where, if necessary, I could go off grid indefinitely. And I was thinking about that in light of recent events and ongoing events. And it occurred to me that although it is nice to live in a place like this, it's not necessary when it comes to bugging in to ride out some bad times, oh, such as what we're having now. The thing is, you know, I don't expect, even if it got really bad in your area, I don't expect that you would have to bug in for more than maybe 2 weeks to a month tops. By the time you're bugged in for a month, the majority of the problem is going to probably have dissipated, at least to the point where you can go out and resupply or whatever. And if something like that happens, the chances are your area, whether your area is your county, your state, or the entire country, is going to be declared an emergency. And if it is, that sounds scary. But the good thing about it is that you would probably have legal protection against losing your job or your home because you weren't able to work for a couple of weeks or a month. And that's just, to put it bluntly, that's the way it is. I don't think anybody would have to worry about that. So you also, if you're only going to be bugging in for a maximum of a month to ride through a situation like this, you don't have to go take your pickup truck and load it up with hundreds of pounds of beans and rice and whatever. And hand sanitizer. That's the thing. If you're bugging in, you don't necessarily need much hand sanitizer, if any. It's plain old soap and water is right there at your disposal, and you've got an area that you can control and keep it clean because it's not out in the public. So that being said, I just wanted to cover a few things that would be good to have. And fact is, even if you live in an apartment in the city, you can do this and ride it out. So the first thing I want to mention is regular old household bleach. A gallon of it will probably be fine. And I did go out a couple of days ago and buy, well, I didn't, I stopped actually at Dollar General and bought another gallon because I noticed that I was down to probably about a cup or so, about 8 ounces remaining in my existing jug. So I bought a new gallon jug of Dollar General brand bleach. And get the unscented kind because you don't want any additives in case you need to use it to purify water. Or not purify, but uh, you can sanitize water, make it safe to drink. So, that being said, take care of that. You need also a few items to, have something to eat. And I would suggest, indeed, rice and beans. That's what a lot of people are stocking up on right now. But you don't necessarily need that much of it. I bought a couple of 5-pound bags of rice and 3 1-pound bags of beans and dry pinto beans. And I would have bought a 10-pound bag because that's the way I normally buy it. And I was almost out. So, unfortunately, the store where I went was out of 10-pound bags. And they had a pretty reasonable amount of 1-pound bags of beans remaining, but they only had 3 bags of the cheap store brand, which is what I bought. I bought the last 3 bags of that, but there are still bags of other brands. So, with beans and rice, I bought 2 5-pound bags of rice. We had probably a pound or 2 already, but beans and rice together form a complete protein. Didn't buy any flour or cornmeal, but if you don't have any, that might be a good thing to buy as well. And we already had some partial bag, 1 each partial bag, and I'm sure that'll be enough to last us if it gets to the point that we're not able to or don't feel safe going out and shopping. Let's see, I did buy some pasta, and I buy a fair amount of pasta anyway. I had some already, but I like to stay fairly well stocked on 3 or 4 different varieties of pasta. So I bought one, I think it was just a 1-pound bag of egg noodles, because I saw it and saw a store brand and it was cheap. So I went ahead and picked one of those up. And by the way, pasta was well stocked. They didn't seem to be selling out of pasta, and that kind of surprised me. They were selling out of rice, or close to it, and also beans, but pasta didn't seem to be affected. And pasta is definitely a good thing to buy to keep yourself fed. And so we bought a large pack of paper towels, because we were down to a couple of rolls, and that's the way we buy it. We buy the big pack. So that wasn't anything out of the ordinary. Actually, nothing was out of the ordinary, except that we bought 2 5-pound bags of rice. But, I had just read an article in the Backwoodsman magazine that just came out about rice, so that kind of influenced my decision there. So anyway, with 10 pounds of rice and a few pounds of dried beans and a few pounds of pasta, and we've got some canned goods, and we bought another loaf of bread, just 1 loaf of bread. And this was pretty much just our average shopping trip, average weekly shopping trip, and with a couple of things added. So that's really all you need to do, is just buy a few items like that, because it really doesn't take that much to make it through a month. And especially when it comes to beans and rice and pasta. Potatoes too. If you run across a 10-pound bag of potatoes or something, it might be good to pick that up. So with those kinds of foods, though, you can keep yourself fed. You might not be eating the variety of foods that you normally would, but you can keep yourself fed for a month on not very much. You don't have to clean out your bank account. Hopefully this situation is not going to be as bad as it potentially could. But let's be prepared so that we can make it through it if it does. Thanks for watching and listening, and be safe out there, okay?